Hello and welcome back. It's been quite a while since I've published any videos on YouTube, and I'm kind of excited to be making videos again. So in this video I want to update you on what's been going on since the last time you saw me. We've made a lot of updates and improvements to the Oddbeaker synthetic mining. If you look over here to the left, you'll see the Oddbeaker synthetic mining, whatever you want to call it, control panel, back and front end, whatever you want to call it. Behind me directly is a chart, a TradingView chart, which you can get to from by clicking on any of the links over here on any of the tickers. So let me show you some of the stuff we've been doing since you saw me last. First off, let's go to the interface. The colors have changed a little bit. They got a little bit higher contrast to them. And if I go into the settings, we now have the ability to switch to dark mode, which is pretty cool. Because I've been getting a lot of requests, especially from a particular friend of mine who's very picky about this dark mode stuff. So, and it's cool. And once I put it in there, it's like, yeah, it really needed this in here. So I'm glad that people requested it, and I was able to do it. Okay. So now I've got this chart. Let me, if I can click over here, for example, that'll take me to the TradingView chart. And the reason it does that is because in my settings I have TradingView charts enabled. Otherwise it'll take you straight to your exchange and do it that way. Okay, so let me go back to Tau USD because we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Alright, another really cool thing. Well, before I even go there, let me get myself out of the way. You can see we've got my indicators. I made some enhancements to the indicators, so now it actually shows individual candles that have moved at least whatever the percentage. Like over here, for example, I've got a percent gain of 6%. Okay, and if you look over here, just about every candle has a white mark on it, which means it has moved at least 6% in that candle, right? There's been at least, look at that one. There's 6% from there to there. So, like, that's like a, maybe like a 15% candle right there. Okay? And just about every day you get a 6% or more candle. Alright? And so the next thing I wanted to show you is something that I think you're going to find really cool. So if I click this little icon here, which is new, now you get a transaction breakdown, right? And you get all this cool stuff. Like, I don't use most of this stuff, but I use the top table. I use this, the individual currency breakdown, but the transaction breakdown is cool. So if we look here at Tau USD, let me pop this up here. If we look at Tau USD, in the last 7 days I had 74 rewards. Okay, I made $85 profit, and I stashed a tiny bit of Tau. My intent wasn't to stash, but because of the way the algorithm works, it's gonna stash a tiny bit anyway, even if you specify 0 stash. And that's just to make sure that it covers the fees, the transaction fees, round trip. Right, my average reward is $1.16. The trading volume in the last week is $2,600. Right, so there's all this information. The percent gain, 6.8% gain in a week. Now get this: if you signed up for Oddbeaker synthetic mining, the level 1 subscription, which is just under $20 a month, okay, which gives you access to trade 1 crypto pair. And if you started a week ago, and you put it on TAO USD with us. Let's go back here. Let's go back here and click here. A $17 spend. Okay, $17 spend on TAO USD. Right? You would have made $85 the first week after paying your $19 for the subscription, for the monthly subscription. What's that? That's like more than 4x your subscription costs in the first week. Now, not every week's going to be like that, but I'm pretty sure that you're going to be able to find pairs that will get you more than your monthly subscription fees, and perform a heck of a lot better than if you were mining, for example. Like if I did that on Bitcoin. Now this Bitcoin doesn't really count because I'm strictly, I have a profit of 0, and I have a stash of like 2%. Like if we go back here to Bitcoin USD, right there, right, you'll see I got a $50 spend. I don't want any profit. I'm just trying to stash Bitcoin, right? I'm basically trying to get free Bitcoin out of this deal. And so I spend $50, and then I pocket 2% of that, which is $1, and then I sell the rest for $50, right? And it just rinse and repeat over and over. And as you can see, in the last week, if you look here, in the last week that's happened 10 times. So Bitcoin doesn't move, the volatility of Bitcoin, even though it's pretty volatile, because it's $90,000. A 1% move is essentially $900. So 2% move is $1,800. So that it's going to take a little bit of effort to get a 2% move on Bitcoin. Okay, but I think the thing that I really wanted to show was like the performance is amazing with a $17 spend. So I'm spending $17 per round on TAO with a 6% profit. And when you look at the chart, there's a 6% move on every daily candle, just about, right? Like this is insane. And so you don't need a whole lot of money, to make a dollar a day, right? And in this case, we're talking, let's go back. In this case, we're talking 7 days, and it's $74. So that's more than 10 per day, right? But you can expect at least $1 a day with those settings that I just specified. I'll look up here. Bitcoin Cash BTC is pretty close to finishing the round. Yeah, there's a few that looks like they're gonna pop pretty soon, so that's cool. Now that one I'm specifically doing that to get more Bitcoin. So I'm spending this amount here, which is, I don't even know what that is. It's, what is it? It's like $45, $50, something like that, USD. With a 2% profit. So again, I'm stashing about $1 worth of Bitcoin every time it completes a round, every time I do a buy and a subsequent sell, right? And that one actually, so this week I've had 30 of those. So I've stashed about $30 worth of Bitcoin just trading Bitcoin Cash against Bitcoin, right? So here's the average reward over here. The stash amount, oh, that's Bitcoin Cash, right? So it's stashing some Bitcoin Cash too, which eventually I'll turn around and sell for Bitcoin when it reaches a certain amount, right? But this is 1 week, so 30 per week. Let's say for 4 weeks, that's $120 worth of Bitcoin that I'm putting away every month at this rate, right? $74 in USD that I'm putting away. Oh, and over here, this is another $10. So Yeah, so about $40 between these two worth of Bitcoin every week. Oops. And about $74 worth of Tau, or not $74 worth of Tau, but $74 using Tau to trade up my USD, right, in a week. Okay, so if I go back to like 30 days, now I've changed and I've switched to different pairs. Like, see how much bigger this list got. I was doing AVAX, I got 120 AVAX rewards. But if you look at my average reward, it was like 12 cents. I was doing a lot of experimenting with to see how the volatility was affecting, my performance. And so I was using small spend amounts in order to see what the results would be. And then once I found some pairs that were pretty consistently doing well, that's when I cranked it up to try and earn $1 per. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, if you look, I had Solana 108, but also same thing, about 6 cents worth of. But actually, I was stashing Solana, so that was, I got close to half of a Solana in that time. And most of these I was doing pretty good, but then everything started pumping, and I got to a point where I ran out of money to trade with, so I had to cut back on some of them and just pick a few that were going to be my champions to attain my goal, which was, basically to stash Bitcoin, which is my primary purpose, and then to generate some cash. And so the three that you saw in the last 7 days, those have been the ones that I've been kind of focusing on. And then probably in the next month, after I've had about a month of performance and I know what I'm up against, then I'll scale the spend amounts up, so that instead of $1 a day, maybe I'll be doing $1 a day, $1 per reward. I'll be doing $5 per reward or $10 per reward or something like that, right? And so that's just with 3 pairs. So you only need a level 2 subscription to do up to 5 pairs at a time. And that's what, I forget, it's like $60 a month. It's not much. So you've got up to 5 pairs. Let's say you can find 5 pairs that can earn you even $30 a week each, right? So each week you're earning $150 a week, all right? And you're spending $60 a month. Okay, this is a no-brainer. Like, if I could spend $60 for a month to earn $300 a month, it's a no-brainer, right? And that's the thing that I've been having such a hard time getting people to understand. This thing works amazingly well. And once you find the pairs that work for you, and that's the thing, you don't have to find the pairs that work for you, because I went down the list of the top 50 and I'll eventually make that the top 100. And I found the best settings based on the last 6 months to 6 to 12 months of activity, right? I found the best settings. And once you sign up and you join the Telegram group, you'll have access to a link with that information. And it'll tell you what the spend amount is. It targets $1 a day, or not $1 per day, but $1 per reward, right? All USD pairs, like USDT, USDC, whatever. And I might make another chart like that, another one like that for Bitcoin pairs, for people who are, because I'm convinced that probably this time next year you won't even be able to get Bitcoin off of a crypto exchange, right? Because the ETFs will have them all, the institutions will have it all. There'll be no liquidity of Bitcoin on the exchanges. So if you want Bitcoin and you're not a miner, now's the time to get on the exchange and start extracting it from there before the big boys come in and take it all, right? But aside from that, okay, this thing works, and I've been trying to find a way to show people how it works, and I think I've finally done that with these stats and and just kind of yeah, everything. It's really, this stuff is really cool, and I've been so excited about it. And it seems, you know, for me, I just had the hardest time kind of getting people to understand just how powerful this is. And I call it synthetic mining because you can use it as kind of as a miner, right? Where you know, you want Bitcoin, or you want Ethereum, or you want Solana. You can mine it synthetically using this stuff, right? Like if I wanted to add Solana, for example, let me go over here. Okay. I go and do Solana against USD or USDT or something. Let's say USD, right? I'd set a max price, whatever the max price is. I don't know, 300. I don't know what Solana price is right now. Let's say I'd spend $50 and then I look for a 2% stash and no profit, because I don't want cash, I want Solana. So I want $1 worth of Solana every time this thing gets a reward, right? And so I'd set it to do that. And so now I'm mining Solana essentially, and this thing's going back and forth, buying and selling, and what's happening? My Solana stash is growing, it's increasing, you know, little by little, piece by piece, until eventually I've got, you know, a year later or whatever. Well, think about this, right? Tau USD. I have, how much do I have on that? I think I've got $1,300 trading Tau USD and Bitcoin USD between those two. Okay? So let's look, $85 plus forward, the $89, right? In 7 days. So let's get the calculator out and see what that looks like. Right? $1,300 divided by, what did I say, $89? Okay, that's 14 weeks. 14 weeks to double my account, assuming that I started with $1,300 and I was only trading those two pairs, Bitcoin USD and Tau USD. 13 weeks, right? To double my account. That's insane. You know? But, and it's like, if somebody told me that, I'd say, yo, that's crazy, you're full of it. But when you look at the numbers and you see the performance, it's possible, it's plausible, right? It may not be consistent, and you may have to find, you know, another pair once the volatility of the pair you're trading, it kind of diminishes. But, you know, you've got all these resources. You've got this indicator. You've got the synth mining channel, right? And I explain how all that stuff works in other videos. That's what I'm assuming that if you want to know more about those, you can look at some of the other videos on his channel, and they'll kind of explain it, right? The synth mining channel, the volatility indicator. The resources are there. You got the Telegram chat where we've got, like, all of my testers are on there right now, and that's, once you subscribe, you join that chat, and you can get on there and you can ask questions and find out what other people are doing. I post results on there. People post their results. They post their experiences. You know, they let me know if there's any issues, and I go in and I go and fix the issues, or I take their suggestions into consideration and make that into the next version that I publish. I mean, that sort of thing. But you gotta sign up, and you gotta get in there, and you gotta be active, right? And you gotta put some money on the exchange, and let the bot, you know, let the synth miner do its thing for you. And I've got everything you need. I've got the spreadsheet that tells you what settings to use for which pair, right? If you wanna synth mine Solana, you wanna synth mine Doge, or some of these AI coins, like Tau is an AI coin. I can never remember what the name is, but it's one of those AI coins. It's a pretty popular one. So what else? I don't know. I can't think of anything else. All I can say is, like, this thing works. All right. So, like, what are you waiting for? Just get on there, pick an exchange. And I've added more exchanges as well. I think there's like 16 exchanges that it works on now, something like that, where before there was like 9. Okay, so you've even got those choices. You might already have an account on the one of the exchanges that the synth miner runs on. So get out there, synthmining.com, sign up. I would just say sign up with the level 1 subscription. Put it on one pair, right? Sign up level 1, join the Telegram group, check out the spreadsheet, pick a pair that you think looks promising, put it on that, and follow the guidelines that I use, and see the results for yourself. And once you decide, okay, this thing is going to work, then you upgrade your subscription to level 2 or level 3. Put it on 5 or 10 or 20 pairs, right? I would say 5 pairs. You usually don't need more than 5 pairs, right? I mean, 10 pairs. It's like babysitting a bunch of rowdy kids, and you got to make sure every one of them is doing well. But 5 is a manageable number, right? Upgrade your account to allow for 5 pairs, and then just go for it, man. You're paying $60 a month, and you're probably making $300, $400, $500 a month, depending on the pairs that you choose. So, that's a no-brainer, right? Okay, so enough babbling about that. I just wanted to kind of get back into making videos and show you what's new, what's going on, right? We've got the stats, we've got the Telegram group, we've got the improved indicators, we've got the different color modes going on, right? I mean, it's just, and then we've got the instructional videos, and we've got this just, everything is there. And it's waiting for you to take advantage of it. All right? So that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.